once-in-a-generation storm lashed US. Unprecedented rain-induced floods submerged half of Pakistan. Record-breaking heat wave gripped Europe. Severe hunger crisis hit the Horn of Africa after 4 consecutive failed rainy seasons. These are just some of the major climate change-induced events that took place in 2022 and may be taken as a warning by Mother Nature of what is to come if the climate crisis is not addressed. Despite these warnings, as the much talked about COP27 climate summit concluded in Egypt in November 2022, where world leaders discussed ways to tackle climate change, an important contributor seems to have missed their agenda: arms sales and military spending by rich nations. These factors not only exacerbate climate change, but also often surpass the amount spent to address the crisis by as much as 30 times by rich countries. While the trajectory of military spending by first world nations and greenhouse gas emissions have been rising in tandem, the amount allocated to control climate change hasn't, as per a detailed study done by the Transnational Institute. As per the study, 7 of the top 10 historical emitters are also among the top 10 global military spenders, with the United States at the top, followed by China, Russia, and so on. A 2020 report by Tipping Point North-South estimated that the carbon footprint of the global militaries and arms industries was around 5% of the total global greenhouse gas emissions in 2017. In terms of fuel consumption, if the world's armed forces were ranked together as a single country, they would be the world's 29th biggest oil consumer. Other estimates by organizations such as Conflict and Environment Observatory and Scientists for Global Responsibility put the annual military carbon footprint at 205 million tons for US and 11 million tons for UK of carbon dioxide equivalent. Between 2013 and 2021, the richest countries spent $9.45 trillion on the military, compared to an estimated $243.9 billion on additional climate finance. Global military spending has been rising since the late 1990s, surging since 2014 and reaching a record $2,000 billion in 2021, and is only increasing amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. The current war in Ukraine that began in February 2022 has in fact been used to approve major increases in military spending by several nations. Global military spending passed $2 trillion in 2022 for the first time. The US has approved a record $840 billion military budget for 2023, and Canada in 2022 announced an extra $8 billion for the next 5 years. Russia has approved a 27% increase in military spending since 2021, which will bring its budget to a total of $83.5 billion in 2023. In 2022 alone, 476 F-35, one of the most gas-guzzling fighter jets, have been ordered by countries involved in the Ukraine war, including US and Germany. In addition to directly contributing to the acceleration of climate crisis, the richest countries are exporting arms to the most climate vulnerable countries and consequently fueling conflict and war in many cases. Countries including the United States, UK, Germany, and other European nations accounted for 64.6% of the total value of international arms transfers between 2013 and 2021. These Western countries have exported arms to all 40 of the most climate vulnerable countries in the global south, including Afghanistan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and so on. Russia and China, the second and fourth biggest arms exporters, also export to climate vulnerable countries. While China has exported to 21 climate vulnerable countries, Russia has exported to 13. The biggest benefactor of all this increased demand for and supply of weapons is the arms industry, which has boomed from the global increases in military spending. The share prices of arms companies have skyrocketed following the Ukraine war, and countries such as the US, Germany, etc. announcing billions of dollars worth of military spending. In fact, defense stocks have outperformed global markets this year. While US-based Northrop Grumman and AeroVironment registered 26% and 80% rise in their share prices respectively around September 2022, Britain's BAE Systems registered 37% rise. US-based Lockheed Martin, the manufacturer of the famous HIMARS rocket launcher that played a major role in Ukraine's successful counter-offensive, recorded 8% rise in its shares. 5.6% share price rise was reported by General Dynamics. Previously little-known defense firms have also made windfall gains, such as Turkey's Baykar Makina, makers of the Bayraktar TB2 drones, which Ukrainian forces swear by. With no end in sight to the Russia-Ukraine war and the Korean Peninsula, as well as the Indo-Pacific and Western Pacific region believed to be on the brink of war, the chances of rich nations slashing their military budget seems bleak, and climate finance once again may take a back seat.